This is Dead Like Me, the series. Is it good? Part 4. Spoilers. Focused on Season 2. I'm getting close to being done with this one, and then I'll be moving on to the movie. I'm Auckland. If you enjoy my content, please hit the subscribe button, like button also. Share with your friends if you don't mind. Also, please comment, ask me a question, or comment in general. I'll do my best to answer them. Also, if you don't mind, hit the notification bell down below, and you will be notified when I go live or upload another video. As you can tell, I got some webbing, getting ready for the Halloween season for sure. Got my notes. Let's get started. Alright, left off, Daisy was having problems with Ray's Gravelink. The singer that Mason had stole from an elderly man. Rube and the woman who is supposed to reap Rosie were both at the nursing home. I can't find her, said the woman. She is over there. That is Rosie, said Rube. Rosie was an elderly lady. This is all at the nursing home, and the woman was pointing over to where Rosie was. Rosie was an elderly lady and was sitting on a bench. I don't think I can do this, said Rube. Now, Rosie is Rube's daughter, and she's about to be reaped. At George's house, at George's parents' house, George's parents had buried J.D. and placed a white cross on his grave that read J.D. just dog, good friend. Reggie said some words. She said that she was sorry for leaving the gate open, because she had admitted that she was the one that left the gate open, that Claire didn't do it after all. She said that if you see George, tell her hey, and thanks for the frog, that she can come back anytime. George's dad said, it's not your fault that J.D. died because you left the gate open. It was probably his time to go. Mason at the restaurant has been trying to say sorry to the waitress with a sign, because Mason had stole from her and he got kicked out of the restaurant. At first, the waitress didn't respond, but she let Mason back into the restaurant. He had flowers that he had picked and gave to her. And she said, well, did you steal these ones? Did you steal these flowers? And he was saying, like, no, he had picked them for her. And the waitress gave Mason a stack of money on a table. I don't know what to say, said Mason. Say thank you, said the waitress. Thank you, said Mason. You are welcome, but you can't sleep here, because he's been sleeping at the restaurant. Then the waitress walked away. Mason had been sleeping, as I just said. Mason has been sleeping at the restaurant because he has no home and nowhere else to go. Back at Georgie's parents' house, you were a good father today, but that doesn't make you a good husband, said Joyce. Because they have not been getting along too good, in the process of getting a divorce, and I believe they have been divorced now. And so Joyce was talking to, of course, her ex-husband. He said, I know. He was told by her. Joyce then told him to go home, and he left. The woman with Rube sat down with Rosie on the bench, and Rosie said that she was waiting for someone after the woman had said some things to Rosie. Rube walked up and said, and and said, "Hey, Rosie." Rosie said, "Hey, Papa." The woman soon touched Rosie to reap her, and the woman stood up. "I'm sorry," said the woman to Rube. Rube sat down with his daughter once the woman had left. Rube told Rosie to go to sleep, and she wanted him to sing to her. So Rube did just like he used to when she was a little girl. "Are you leaving again, Papa?" asked Rosie. "No, Rosie, I'm not going anywhere." He used to leave her all the time when she was a little girl. Dolores, at the happy time, Dolores put the file on George into a letter and addressed it to Joyce to send to her, because they were working on trying to rewrite George's file, change the words around. George took Mason to Daisy's house, where George had been living at also. "He can't stay here," said Daisy. "He killed Ray and is only going to get madder." "Well, this is my house also," said George. "Okay, fine," said Daisy. Because I don't want to go back too much on it, but on some of the other parts, it explains about exactly what happened. "Thanks, George," said Mason. "No problem," said Georgie. Said George. "Come out wherever you are," said George after Mason went to sleep, and he said that he wouldn't even sleep again. George knew and felt that Ray's grave link was there. That's why she was saying, "Come out for." He soon showed up, and he was about to harm Mason while Mason fell asleep. George touched the grave link to reap him, and he had disappeared. At the restaurant, Rube told George that she needs to wear a mask on Halloween. It was now Halloween now, to hide her face. On Halloween, the dead are revealed for what they really are. So George wears a mask. George and Mason go to Happy Time to get Mason. So Mason and George go to Happy Time so Mason can get some trash bags for Candy to go trick-or-treating with. I think I'm at, 8 minutes now? Okay, Reggie has been going to counseling with her mom. A man with white shoes from George's past is going around in present time and killing people with rope. An elderly man and recognized Daisy. A elderly man had recognized Daisy at the restaurant, and he told her that he knew who she was. Daisy died in Gone with the Wind. And so Daisy was telling the man that, well, I can't be who you think I am because she's dead. There's no way. Now, at Happy Time, Dolores is dressed up like... No, she was walking down the street, that's right. Dolores is dressed up like a cat. See, it jumps back and forth. Plus, my notes are all messed up, so I'm doing the best I can. George walked up to the door, and the same door that she went to as a kid. This door was owned by the killer that's going around killing people with rope. The door was owned by the man with the white shoes. George touched him and said it's all over, because he has been killing people left and right, going into people's houses after the trick-or-treaters get done and he slips inside. Joyce and Reggie are at George's grave. Mason had managed to gather up a lot of candy and brought it all to the restaurant, which is Der Waffle House is the name of the restaurant. George, Roxy, Daisy, Mason, and Rube were all sitting together at a booth. The candy was spread out all over the table that they were sitting at. "Thanks for this," said Daisy, talking to Mason. "You are welcome." Rube called George Peanut. "I am not that girl anymore, Rube." "I know that you aren't," said Rube. "Happy Halloween, Peanut." The Gravelinks were at the restaurant, and they were eating some candy also, and they were fighting over it. It was messed up. Rube told everyone, "Good night, guys," and he left. In the morning, Rube went to Rosie's grave and put down some flowers, and also flowers on Lucy's grave. Lucy must have been his wife, I think. George went to her grave, and Joyce and Reggie were fast asleep on the ground there. George left candy for Reggie, and Reggie soon woke up while George was walking away. And George turned around and smiled at Reggie, and she smiled back. George said, "It's not so bad being dead like me." And I believe they both smiled at each other because Reggie knew who she was, which was very, very cool. Now, I'm going to soon talk about the movie, but I want to say something first. This show got canceled after 2 seasons, and it really, really sucks. But I talked about this before, that they had rebooted it with a movie. Well, I did some more research, and the movie is not a reboot, not really. It slightly is, but the movie is also a continuation of the original 2 seasons, and the movie is called Dead Like Me, Life After Death, and I'll be discussing it now. And I didn't really like it as much as the first 2 seasons, but here it is, Dead Like Me, Life After Death. So, let's get started. Alright, this movie starts off the way that the plot of the show started, but just with the death of George by the toilet seat from a space station. She became a Grim Reaper. Rube is the head man. They all meet up at a restaurant called Der Waffle House. Rube passes out sticky notes to the Reapers there, and they have the names of the people that will die, the address, and the time. Rube says, "You don't mess with fate, Peanut. People die when they are meant to die. You can't intervene in any way. When life is done, it's done." Rube calls George Peanut a whole lot. "We, the undead, are meant to exist on the fridge of the living, to do our job. In the first 2 seasons, George has been dead for a year, but in this movie, she has been dead for 5 years now." George takes souls for a living in situations like murder, natural disasters, accidents, and more. This guy had set him. This guy in his room had set himself up in a chair, and it was all hooked up to a device. And this guy was basically committing suicide. It kind of looked like an electric chair, and it was all hooked up to all kinds of things. A grave link was there to set it all up for him to die. The guy was strapped in and done this to himself, like I said. Let's see. George was there, and she had touched him to reap him. A bowling ball was pushed by the grave link, and it rolled down and set off a shotgun, and it was aimed at the guy, and he died. He committed suicide, basically. Pretty much. The guy was happy about it, too. He said that he was glad to be dead. He told George that he thought that it would hurt more. The reason why is because I took your soul before you died, said George. Oh, thank you very much, said the guy. He saw the light and went towards it and disappeared. Grim Reapers are meant to take souls until they take the last one, and then they move on. Mason, Roxy, and Daisy, who is now played by a different actress, and I did not like that, were there outside Der Waffle House at some kind of street. Rube wasn't there. Daisy asked, where is Rube? And the Der Waffle House had burned down. Did you have something to do with this? Mason asked Roxy, but she also said some bad words that I am not going to say. I didn't do it, said Mason. He wouldn't do that, said George. Thanks, George, said Mason. This elderly guy pulled up in a limo. They all got into the car and drove off. They all showed up at this place and went inside to meet this guy. They sat down around a table and he told how they all had died. Daisy died on the set of Gone with the Wind. Mason died by drilling a hole into his own head. Roxy was strangled by a leg warmer. Georgie killed by a toilet seat, of course. This guy is replacing Rube, and I don't like him at all. This guy gave them all cell phones to call him or text him or email him. And the cell phones are replacing the sticky notes. His name is Cameron Kane. Roxy says this guy is lying and he did something with Rube, because Cameron was saying that Rube had moved away and he's not ever coming back. Because Roxy even said that this guy had said that he had gone away forever, and which is just something's not right about it. Then they all began to receive messages on their cell phones for their death appointments. So no more sticky notes. Roxy doesn't know how to use the cell phone. George still has her Mustang, and George stopped at a street light and gave the finger to this other car, the people that were in the car close by. It was Reggie and Joyce. Joyce said that was uncalled for. Reggie is now 16 years old. Same actress, same woman who's playing as Joyce, which is awesome. Reggie was learning how to drive. George's dad had moved away, so he was no longer he's no longer here now. Reggie arrived at school with her arrived at school, and she hit something and made a scene. Students close by had all begun to laugh at her. Joyce is running a group therapy for people who lost their loved ones. She's helping this couple out, and she told them about George, and that her and George got into an argument the day that she died. Joyce said, always tell your loved ones that you love them. I tell Reggie that every day, and it drives her crazy. George had went to Happy Time, and Dolores met her and asked, was your breakfast meeting okay? Yeah, because she told Dolores that she was going to a breakfast meeting, and yeah, because she had told her that she went to a breakfast meeting when she went to go reap that guy at that place that he's committed suicide. Let's see. Dolores had her cat with her. George said some bad words, and Dolores said that we are going to have to put that potty mouth of yours into a kitty litter box. Roxy, Mason, and Daisy had went to a beauty salon. Daisy was there for a reap. A Gravelink showed up to get it all started. She found the person, and it was a guy. I think he was delivering packages or something like that. And Daisy touched him, and he choked on a piece of candy and fell to the floor and died. And you would think that she was going to save the guy, but she's not supposed to interfere. It's supposed to happen. Roxy, Mason, and Daisy never had to rush between reaps before, but now with this new guy, they're having to rush. So, yeah, it's very different. George was at work, and it was almost time for her to reap. She left and made it to the location. By the time she found the person, he was already being put into an ambulance, and it drove off. So, the time that she was given was not correct. Next, George shows up at this fancy party at this house, and she tells Daisy about what happened. George said Cameron messed up my time for my reap. Daisy said, "Oh, that's too bad." Mason, of course, was drinking, and he was with 2 women. George told Mason, and he said, "I don't care. It's not my problem." He said, This has happened before, but not like this," said George. "Not with Rube." Mason said, "F Rube." George found Roxy and told her. Roxy said, "What did Cameron say?" "I haven't found him yet," Roxy said. "Follow me." They soon found Cameron. The commissioner was there, and he kind of flirted with Roxy. And he said, "How about a drink?" And then Roxy left. So George was left with Cameron. And George told him that he had said for her to go to the hospital. After George told him about what happened, and then Cameron told her to go to the hospital and make sure that the guy is dead and go reap. Cameron called her princess. Cameron then kissed George on the lips, and George was frozen, shocked. George went to the hospital, and she was trying to get into the room, to this room where the guy was at, but a nurse told her that no one can see him, not even his family. George found out that he was still alive. George had found a white coat and was able to get inside the room to the guy, and she touched him, but nothing happened. She couldn't reap him. Joyce was at this house. Reggie just got home, and she told her mom that a guy at school almost died. It's the guy that George was going to reap. Joyce asked, "Did you know him?" Reggie had a flashback, and she was with the guy in a locker room. And I believe this is where I'm going to end it at. I hope you enjoy my videos. I do my best. Alright, and if you want to become a fan of me, then do what I said at the beginning of the video, and you will become one of my fans, one of my subscribers. Alright, thank you so much. Alright, bye.